Okay, we should be going now. So I appreciate y'all that are here, and thank y'all for braving the weather and coming out today. So we are in the last part of chapter 5 of the book of Daniel. And we've been through quite a bit that's been going on. Daniel, we see as we started out, as he came as a 15-year-old to Babylon, was taken and captured, taken by a pagan king. We saw that him and his 3 friends were made their mind up early in their life who they were going to live for and how they were going to live. The Bible says he purposed in his heart. Daniel had done that, and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego had certainly done that, because all the tests that were put upon their life, they passed with flying colors. And they, it seems like right away, first thing, their life's in danger for everything that kind of comes around. But no matter what, they're faithful to God through all of it. And even if they didn't think that God would save them or know for sure that he would, they chose to follow God and accept death, if that's what it was, or accept life, or whatever it had. They trusted completely in God, and to them it didn't matter. When they were getting ready to go in the fiery furnace, they didn't matter. Well, okay, so what? You kill us, you kill us. If not, it's not. That's fine. We're going to do what God wants us to do. And that is a picture, and really all the book of Daniel is a picture of how we should live in a pagan society, and give us an example. And that's what Daniel's was doing, is giving the Jews, those that are in captivity, how to live. They've got 70 years they're going to spend in captivity. And they're not going to be in their land. They're outside the land. They're in not under control, any control of themselves, of hardly anything. But Daniel does whatever he needs to do. And he and his friends end up moving up high in government. Daniel was given second second in command, I guess, of the entire government under Nebuchadnezzar. And now we're moving through chapter 5. Nebuchadnezzar is gone. He's considered the father of Babylon. That's why it says Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar was called his father, though he was not a real father, not his biological father. Doesn't mean that. Babylonians' time talked about those that had, just like we do in a lot of ways, our leaders, our fathers of our country. Ben Franklin, George Washington, we consider them the fathers of our country in a way. They're not our physical fathers, but they led, and that's what Nebuchadnezzar was. And so we see that he's out and he's gone. He's either passed on or whatever, but now it's moved through. And we talked about the succession of the kings that were there, and now we're at Belshazzar. He's going to be the last king of Babylon, the very last one. And we talked about Babylon and how strong it was, how beautiful it was. What a fantastic, unbelievable place. It's the world superpower right then. During that time. And Nebuchadnezzar did build it up. He did a lot. But his fault was that he didn't give the glory to God. But God knew that he would. And he knows everyone that's going to be saved and the ones that aren't. And he was able to put some pressure on Nebuchadnezzar, where he was, for 7 years, he was outside, lost his mind. His fingernails grew long, hair grew long. He was eating grass like an ox and just all kind of crazy stuff. The man lost his mind. But after the end of that, it took 7 years to get it out of him. He recognized that God is the Most High God. And he praised him, and he realized that. And when he did, God took him completely out of that, put him right back in as king. His mind restored immedately to its full potential as it was before. It's just unbelievable. But I believe that Nebuchadnezzar is saved. I think we'll see him in heaven. I think that's what happened, that God had to do that to him. But now as we move along through all the things that occurred, we got Belshazzar who's in there. And Belshazzar doesn't seem to get it. he's not really looking at the history. He knows the history, but he's not really paying attention to what's going on and what happened with Daniel and with Nebuchadnezzar being thrown in the fiery furnace, the three friends being thrown in the fiery furnace, Daniel being thrown in jail for not bowing down to the statue that he built, all those things, and him being able to interpret dreams for Nebuchadnezzar and when no one else could. But Belshazzar decided to throw a big party. And that's what chapter 5 is, what brings us up to speed on where we're at now. And for 1,000 of his lords and all his princes and his concubines and his wives and everything else, he throws this big drunken party and chooses to, in the middle of it, decide that he's going to go get all the sacred objects that were taken out of the Jewish temple and use that to drink wine out of and use in a blasphemous way in this party. And he understood and knew what he was doing. He knew what was going on. Also, we see that Belshazzar was just overconfident. Babylon was a fortress, and we talked about that, the 3 huge walls that surrounded Babylon, and they had a strong army and everything else. They were something else. They were difficult, and people tried to take them over before and couldn't. And nobody could really penetrate those walls, and they were very wide, very hard. You get across one, you got another one, and you got people shooting at you and throwing arrows and everything else down on you. It's just so hard. But they thought that they had it made, completely overconfident. No big deal, we got it. I'm going to party and have a big old party, and all the people that are supposed to be paying attention, they're going to be in the party with me. And he brought everybody in, and that's what's going on at the same time that they're tunneling in under the walls to come in and take over take over Babylon. So we see that's going on, and then we have the handwriting on the wall. Anytime we say that slang term today, well, they see the handwriting on the wall. It comes directly from the Bible. Exactly from that, and it's continued on today. We say that all the time. Well, I can see the handwriting on the wall on this incident, It exactly comes back to here. And sure enough, a hand appears out of nowhere. There's no fanfare, there's nothing. Just right above the light where it can be seen, and write some words on the wall. And it scares everybody to death. They're like, what in the world is this? And of course, Belshazzar, I think it's funny, I giggle whenever I read it. His knees literally knocked together. It like to scare the water out of him. Probably did. And, that's, to me it's funny, but he was genuinely scared when he saw that. Of course, the first thing he does is call his Chaldeans and astrologers and mystics and sorcerers and everybody else that he shouldn't be calling, all the medians. He calls them the people that never could get it right for Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, he calls them to try to determine what those words say and what they meant, especially more of what they meant, and they had no idea. And somebody says, "Hey, Daniel can do it," and so he says, "Oh, I can remember that now." So he is aware of what's going on, but didn't choose to follow what Daniel should have done. But he calls him to come and interpret that. And so that brings us to where we are starting today. We're really in 24, verse 24 of chapter 5. But I want to back up just a little bit on the scriptures and what it's saying there. Daniel, when he comes in, preaches to Belshazzar about Nebuchadnezzar. He reminds him what had happened. And he said that all the majesty was given to Nebuchadnezzar, that all peoples, nations, languages, and all the people around trembled and feared before him. He had the power to lift them up or to take them down, to decide where they lived or died, and all that. But yet he was driven away from men. His heart was made like the beast. His dwelling was outside. He ate grass like an ox. The dew of heaven rained. He was out there in all the elements for 7 years. And he told him that. And he says the reason is that it was done until he knew in the last part of verse 21, until he knew that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointeth over it whomsoever he will. And he's telling Belshazzar, let me tell you, God is in control of everything. Okay? He's in control of who's going to be in charge of Babylon, whether it survives or not. And you need to understand that. And it took a while for Nebuchadnezzar to understand that, because he was a very smart man, but all that knowledge was given to him by God. He didn't understand that. He didn't recognize that. He didn't give God the thanks for what the knowledge and the stuff that he had. But he said, but has lifted up himself against the Lord of heaven. And this is what he says, and thou his son, I'm in 22, O Belshazzar, has not humbled your heart, though you knew all this. He said, you knew all this. You're completely and fully aware of this, but you did not humble your heart before God. I'm going to tell you, before we jump here in 23, we're going to see that. Okay, we see that with people today. Again, that are atheists or just will not believe. Maybe they just don't care. They just they're not interested in Christianity. They're not interested in changing their life. They're just going along every day. They see it. They know it. They know the gospel. They just don't care and don't want to. They're just neither hot or cold, neither for or against. They're just there, and they know it, but they're not going to give in. It's not going to happen. God's going to use that at their judgment and say, look, you had all these opportunities and you refused. You did not choose me. And he tells him that. He says, but you have lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven. You come up against him. You think you can come up against God. It ain't going to happen. And so they have brought the vessels of his house, not of the Jews, okay, not of the people, but this is God's house, the temple, and they took his stuff, his vessels, out of his house before thee. And you and the lords and wives and concubines have drunk wine in them, and they have praised the gods of silver, gold, brass, iron, wood, and stone, and which don't see, don't hear, and the God in whose hand your breath is, and whose in all your ways you've not glorified. He's telling them that very second, the very next breath you take is because God allowed you to take it. That's it. We think sometimes we're going to just live forever. It's no big deal. We'll go on and take advantage of what we have. We're not thankful for or give God any glory for what he has done. But I can tell you, from personal experience, the very next breath isn't guaranteed to you. Okay, you have no idea. I've had a lifetime of my job I never went to somebody's house and gave them a death notification. They were expecting it. Okay, it doesn't happen. And it doesn't matter. If grandma's been in the hospital for a long time and she's doing bad, it's still hard to take, and you still sudden. Nobody wants to hear about that, but it happens, and it happens early. Happens at any time. You could be young, you could be old, you could be whatever. Right in the middle of doing something, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all shut down and over with. And people need to understand that. We need to understand that we give God glory for all that we have. And it's up to him to give us that next breath or not. We don't have any control over it whatsoever. We like to think we have control, but we don't have control. And all we can do is just thank God and glorify him. Just give him the praise for it and allow him to work with us as however we work with him. I mean, we give our hearts to him and let him worry about it. We can't worry about it because, like I say, we don't know how long that we may have. Belshazzar thinks he's got forever, and that he can blaspheme God and do this without any repercussions. It's all about him again. Nebuchadnezzar's done all this work and built this kingdom for Belshazzar to lose is what's happening. And Belshazzar's not worried about it. There's no sentries out there. There's not people out there going, hey, the Medes and the Persians are tunneling in right now. We got to do something. There ain't nobody doing that. They're all laid up drunk and having this party going on, and nobody's really caring. It's the sense of this false security. We're fine, we'll always be here, and never happened to us. We sometimes think the same way about our country. Always be here, it'll always be the same. Everything's going to go on just like it has forever. Everybody's going to move up to a point they retire, and the next kids come up and retire and go on. Nothing's ever going to change. It'll be here another 100 or 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years if you believe in evolution, It's just going to always be the same. It may get better, it may get worse, but it's all going to be the same. Well, it's not. And there's a time limit on the earth. But it's not always that way. But he tells him, in God is who you have to glorify. And then in verse 24 he says, then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. This is what was written. This is the writing that was there, was Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. So it's M-E-N-E, M-E-N-E, T-E-K-E-L, P-H-A-R-S-I-N, Upharsin. And this is the interpretation of the thing. Meaning, God has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and are found wanting. Perez, which that is what Upharsin is. It comes from the word Perez. God is, let me tell you, if you don't think God doesn't have a sense of humor, you don't know the Bible. He's taken here. Guess who's fixing to come in and overthrow the government? The Persians. Perez is taken from the word Persia. Okay? So he uses that word and he says, Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. So these are the things that we have this party that we talked about that everybody's bringing something to. Everybody's bringing something to the party. This is God's contribution to the party, the handwriting on the wall. And it means that God has numbered his kingdom. There's a set number for however long our lives are and however long our country is in existence. God has set a number for all that. He has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. This is it. It's done for. This is the last time that you're going to be doing this. And he weighed him. Tekel is weighing him in the balances. So he's taken and he's decided, looked at his kingdom and looked what he has done. He has blasphemed God. And he ended it, basically. I don't know how long he would have had, but I think the thing that pushed it over the edge was grabbing the vessels from God's temple and using them in a profane way. I think that was it. You know, God is certainly gracious, and he's patient up to a point. But God will not strive with man forever. Okay, there's many examples of that in the Bible, that God will do everything he can to try to save you if you are willing. But if you aren't willing, he's not going to stay with you forever. He knows those that are going to be saved and those that aren't. He knows all that will regard him and the ones that won't. He already knows that in advance. But he's going to give you those opportunities. Why does he give you an opportunity when he knows from the time he created the universe, he knew who was going to accept him and who wasn't? Why would he do that? Because you have to know. He's giving you that ammunition to know you had all these opportunities, but you chose to be where you're at now because of you chose to be away from me. Like I've said before, those who are unbelievers, that are atheists, they get their heart's desire. God will give them exactly what they want. And what they desire more than anything is to be completely and totally separated from God, from Christians, from anything that resembles God, anything that has anything to do with him, from his word, everything. That's what makes what they want, is total separation from it. They don't want him in the public. They don't want him in the schools. They don't want him in the government. They don't want him anywhere. They won't really tolerate, but they will tolerate some Christians meeting in a group somewhere and letting them, but don't be saying nothing at your job. Don't be talking about Jesus. Don't be doing anything like that. Y'all talk about it over there and don't bring it out. You keep that as a personal thing between you and your God, supposedly, but don't be bringing it out in the public for us to hear it. That's what atheists want, or humanists want. They want you off over there, and they will get that. God will say, okay, I will allow you to do that. I'm going to cast you into outer darkness, into the lake of fire, and you will never be with God. You're going to be in total darkness alone. You're not going to be in a group. In the swimming pool of lava, you're going to be totally alone, separated in complete darkness. And that's what he says. They'll get what they want. This is what Belshazzar has decided that he's wanted. He has blasphemed God and went against him. And utilizing these vessels have just went over the top. And so he lets him know right ahead with that writing on the wall, I have weighed your life in the balances. I've taken your kingdom and I have numbered it. It has a set time that it's going to begin and end, but I'm weighing it to see if it's going to be worth keeping or not. And it was found wanting. It's going to be divided, and it was divided divided between the Medes and the Persians together. That happened that night, immediately. Now, Belshazzar, he tells him that, but he still doesn't get it. Remember, he offered all this stuff to Daniel and to be third in the kingdom because Belshazzar is co-regent, okay? So, which is fits with archaeology. Daniel is going to be third in the kingdom, and he's give him clothed him with scarlet, put a chain of gold about his neck, made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. Wow, that's great. And he told him before, you can keep all that, because it doesn't matter. In so many hours, you're going to be dead, and your kingdom is gone. So all that matters nothing whatsoever. But that's what you get when you're completely enveloped in the world. When that's all you have is the world, you don't have God, you don't have a relationship with Him, all you have is what you can get out here in the world, and however you can get it and pay your way through stuff and anything else. That's what he's thinking. Well, I'll pay him, I'll have him, I'll give it to him. At least he's good with his word, but it's useless. It's like, that's not what you need. You should have gave your life to God and humbled yourself before God. Even well up until the time he died, he had that opportunity. He could have done that, but he's just going about his business. He's still thinking, no matter what, he's going to make it through. He should have known better. He knew that what Daniel said was going to be 100% true because he represented God. He knew that because of past history, that he was 100% right on those interpretations and exactly how they happened, because God is always specific about his prophecy. Okay, so it's not going to be some vague thing that happens that Nostradamus quatrains or whatever. It's not going to be nothing like that. It's going to be specific and something you can test God on to be true. And he knew that. He knew the history. Daniel told him again what the history was, and he's still like, well, here, take these clothes. And it's like, okay, that's fine. You can make me third because you're going to be gone. The other guy's going to be gone. I'll be over it, but there's some new guys coming in that are going to be in charge, and it's not going to matter. It's just ridiculous to see him there. But then it says in verse 30, in that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. And he was. They came in right in the middle of the party. They killed him. They run him through with a spear or whatever, and he was done for. They took over the kingdom. All that time, they're tunneling in. They're probably, at this time, either underneath that party hall or somewhere in the compound inside the walls. And they're still rocking along, partying and carrying on without a care in the world, without a thought in the world about their own safety and security, and no regard to God for what it's like. And then it says, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So he was about 32 when he took over. You know, I understand that we can see what's going on easily, to see what's going to happen in our world and everything else. God has given his word so that we might know and understand. I think it's important to understand that when it comes to eschatology and the teaching and the preaching of it, that a lot of people will never come to this chapter. They're not going to preach it. You won't hear it from a lot of places. You're not going to hear anything about some of the end times and things that's going on. People aren't going to talk about tribulation period. Many preachers don't. There's a movement now of a lot of folks in churches that can't find a church that will ever talk about it because they either don't know it, don't understand it, don't want to apply themselves to know it, the pastors, or they just don't think it's important and actually just have no use for it. And I find that incredible because you need to understand and know the future. Belshazzar should have understood and known, but he didn't. He had no idea. He's completely oblivious. Now understand, there's going to be a time when things are going to change dramatically in our world, but the world is completely oblivious to it. They have no idea. They will not have any idea. They don't look at this. They don't know. As Christians, we shouldn't be ignorant and have no idea what's going on. In Matthew 24 and 25, it talks about those that are in the tribulation period. It's easy to tell if you understand the Bible when everything happens, and you can pretty much time the second coming of Christ. You know when it's going to happen because the Bible is clear. It lays it out. There's 7 years. Halfway through the 7-year tribulation period, the Antichrist is going to go into the temple and desecrate it and declare himself to be God. And he's going to then turn it on the Jews and immediately come after them and try to kill them. That's why it says flee to the mountains. If you're on a housetop, don't go in and grab nothing. Get out of there quick. And it's for them so they understand. And but they would know, but the rest of the world will have no idea. They don't have any idea. We talk about the rapture, and we know that that's going to be before the tribulation. We know that that's the next thing that will happen. Whenever it will happen, we don't know. We understand the timing, but we don't know when, the actual date and time, but we understand the timing for sure. But that's the next thing, but most people have no idea. They don't believe it. They don't even know what you're talking about. They just don't understand it and could care less. They're going to be totally unaware. When Jesus comes back, we go into rapture. When he comes back, and we're coming back with him, and he establishes his kingdom here on earth, the people here on earth will have no idea. They'll be completely taken aback. He says he comes like a thief in the night. Well, a thief in the night, understand, that's not the rapture. That's him coming in his second advent. That's not good. He's coming to take people into judgment. You have one at the mill grinding, one taking, the other left. That's not a rapture passage. That's a second advent passage. He's taking that one out in judgment. He's removing the tares from the wheat, and they're thrown into the fire. He's judging them immediately upon his return. And that's it. But those folks will be totally taken aback. They have no idea what's going on because they have chosen to have no idea. We need to understand and know and study our Bibles and have an idea of what's going on. We do. We have that. Belshazzar had all the information to know what was going on, but he wouldn't believe it. He didn't even believe his own history. You know, he had no idea. He had the testimony of Nebuchadnezzar. It wasn't that long. He would have known and studied them. I mean, he built that nation as to what it was. Others put a little more into it, but really started and had everything from what Nebuchadnezzar had done. He should have known that, but he chose not to. That's what we have in the world today. You have people that are completely oblivious to what's really going on in the world. And that's an opportunity for us to share the gospel. It really is, because they have no idea. They see all the unrest and all the things that are happening. They're thinking that they can save the United States, or if we can just save the Republican Party, and if we can just save this and save that, and hopefully everything's going to work out. We know they got their priorities, you know, in some ways in the wrong way. Don't understand that it's not going to be saved. You know, it's going to be different. The most important part is that we are saved. We are saved through Christ. That's what's going to be important. That's what's going to matter. Yeah, we're going to cause so much trouble and try to be as much as we can and spread the gospel, which is going to upset a lot of folks. But we're going to do what God wants us to do, no matter what. We don't have time. We don't know how much time we have. Whatever it is. We need to be about God's business all the time and utilize it. There's going to be those that will never understand what's going on and never understand that. They're just not going to be there. But there will be those that will listen. Nebuchadnezzar was one that I would have wrote off a long time ago. Wouldn't you? I'd have put it, yeah, that guy ain't going to be saved. Look at him. He's trying to kill this man of God and everything. He's something else. But yet he chose to, and he changed his life. Belshazzar, nope, no way. We don't know who they are. Let's live for God and do what he wants us to do. Be a presence for God, because the time is short, and God can utilize us to be able to reach those that need to be reached. He wants to use us. He wants to work through us. God doesn't have to have us, okay? He can do His will without one of us individually, but He would much rather work with us. If we don't want to work with Him, He'll find somebody that will. His will is not going to be thwarted because we are in a rebellion or whatever else. But let's work with God. Allow Him to work in and through us to change our world, but to change it to get as many saved as we possibly can, to build His church. The universal church. That's what we are looking for to build, and to stand up for God in the public square, to stand up for God wherever. I appreciate those politicians who are genuinely born again and who are Christians and are committed and are standing up for the right and wrong, and they're made fun of and they're denigrated every single day. But and we may also. We may have to go through that, but let's stand for God. Let Him worry about it. We're not going to worry about what happens to us. Let's do what we need to do and trust in God to take care of us and be faithful to Him. In the end, we get crowns, right? At the rapture, at that minute, there's going to be the judgment seat of Christ. That's going to be where, like in high school, some people don't get nothing. Others get to be most congenial, or they get this or that. Everybody gets their crowns. They get rewarded. That's what that is the rewards that we get. And the Bible talks about there's some that won't have anything and some that will have a lot. And I think that our judgment, our people, the people, the normal people every day will have crowns. I think that God's going to take care of us, and that's where we work for. We're not working for all this stuff on the earth. It's all going to disappear. It's all going to burn up one day. We're working for God. We're working for those crowns which are completely incorruptible, and they'll always be there. They'll always be ours. So with that, we'll close, and I appreciate those that are here today, and everybody be safe going home, and have a great week. We'll be in chapter 6 starting next Sunday, and we'll be going in talking about Darius and some of the things that's going to be happening as him and Daniel, and we'll be moving through that, and then in the prophetic sections of Daniel. Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much again for the opportunities that we have to be able to assemble and to meet together. Lord, we know with our weather today we're low in number, but Father, we are all tied together in our hearts. And I just pray, Lord, that you would just fill us with enthusiasm and with strength and desire to continue to want to serve you. And as it gets difficult out here in the world, Father, it's so hard, and it's going to be more difficult. We understand that probably more persecution and more difficulties will be on the way. So, Father, allow us to purpose in our heart today to serve you and you only, and to focus on you through everything that we do. Father, while we have the time to do it. I pray, Father, you keep every one of us safe, protect us as we go out and about through the week. Just hold our small family group together here in our church. We love you. We give you praise. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.